4 in the morning. That's when it happened. Not 4:05, not 3:59. Exactly. 4 a.m. I was standing by my bedroom window clutching a mug of coffee when I saw my 16-year-old son cornered at the pool gate by 3 women in pastel tennis skirts. And then I heard it clear as day in the dead of night. You don't belong here. That was the moment I knew this neighborhood wasn't the safe suburban dream I thought I'd bought into. My son Leo is a competitive swimmer. He's the only black kid on his team, and he works twice as hard just to feel like he deserves to be there. His coach set him up with a brutal training schedule, laps at 4 a.m., before the pool officially opens at 5. The team has a special access code. It's been that way for years. That morning, he keyed in his code when a car screeched to a stop. Out stepped Carol White visor crisp skirt towel tossed over her shoulder like she was auditioning for a country club ad flanked by her 2 sidekicks, Pam and Susan. Leo gave them a polite nod about to open the gate when Carol's voice cracked through the silence like a whip. You think you own this place, don't you? My boy froze, keycard in hand, confused. He explained calmly, Ma'am, I'm on the swim team. We have early access for practice. Carol scoffed, chest puffed out lying that she was on the HOA planning committee here to inspect the facilities. In reality, she was just running for a board position, desperate to look important in front of her minions. Leo stood firm. Sorry, early access is only for athletes. The pool opens at 5 for everyone else. His voice was steady, respectful. But Carol's face twisted like a rotten fruit. She spat out, Do you have any idea who I am? I'm protecting this neighborhood's values. What I see is a delinquent trespassing and refusing to cooperate with a community leader. Her cronies stepped forward with her, a synchronized movement of suburban menace. They were 3 grown women cornering my teenage son. Leo didn't flinch. He simply turned, punched in his code again, and slipped inside the gate, letting it slam shut behind him. I heard the metallic thud from my window. Carol's face contorted with fury as she rattled the gate and shrieked, You'll regret this. You and your family don't belong here. Her friends tried to calm her down, realizing how deranged she looked at 4 in the morning, but she was too far gone. When Leo came home later exhausted and smelling of chlorine, he shrugged. There was a weird lady at the pool. He looked at me with slumped shoulders and said, It's always something, Mom. That broke me. The constant vigilance, the double standard, he was just a kid, yet he was already carrying that weight. I hugged him and promised we weren't letting this slide. So I wrote an email to the HOA board. It wasn't an angry rant, it was meticulous. The date, the time, Carol's exact words, how she lied about being on a committee, how she intimidated my son. I even attached a shaky video clip where you can hear her screeching, You don't belong here. I hit send, thinking the board would have to act. Naive, right? Their response was corporate fluff. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. The board takes all concerns seriously. A pat on the head. And then, an hour later, I got another email. This one wasn't from me. It was Carol's official complaint against my son. She claimed Leo was aggressive, threatening part of a group of teens vandalizing the pool. She twisted his calm refusal into hostility, painted his silence as suspicious. She used all the buzzwords, safety, security, protecting our children. Suddenly, my son was being framed as a criminal. Reading her lies, I felt sick, helpless, like maybe no one would ever believe us. I went across the street to my neighbor, Maria. She's lived here for decades, the kind who notices everything. I poured out the whole story. Maria shook her head slowly. Honey, I'm not surprised. Carol's been like this for years. She told me about the Indian family Carol harassed until they moved away, about how she tried to cancel the community potluck because she didn't like certain households cooking. And then Maria mentioned Carol's brother Rick, a disgraced contractor who'd lost his license. Watch out for him, she warned. He's trouble. Not long after, a beat-up white van appeared outside Carol's house. Rick, big, heavy-set scowl etched into his face. He started hanging around, supposedly fixing sprinklers, but really he was watching. Watching me. Watching Leo. Parking his van half across my driveway, blasting angry talk radio starting power tools whenever Leo stepped outside. It was psychological warfare. And then came the sabotage sprinklers aimed to drown my lawn soda poured against my wall to attract ants, chemicals killing my roses. Death by 1,000 cuts. I installed cameras every angle of my house covered. I kept a log writing down every petty act. One night, I caught Rick on camera at the drainage ditch behind our houses. Hours later, a storm hit and water flooded toward my foundation. That was my proof. I sent the video to the HOA with a demand act now. Finally, they had to. Carol got a cease and desist, a notice of sanctions, even a possible ban on running for the board. For the first time, I felt like I had the upper hand. But Carol didn't surrender. She escalated. A baseball crashed through my living room window at midnight. My car lock was glued shut. I called the police. They sympathized, but had no hard proof. Still, they opened a file, told me to report every incident. At least now there was an official record. It was a thin shield, but it was something. In the meantime, I dug deeper into Rick. I discovered he used to be a contractor for the very developer who built our neighborhood. He'd been fired and sued for shoddy work, cracked foundations, leaky roofs, bad wiring. Suddenly, it all clicked. The soggy lawn, the ants, the clogged drain. Rick wasn't just being petty. He was using insider knowledge to target the weaknesses of these houses. He wasn't just Carol's thug. He had his own vendetta. I updated the police and the officer told me, "Keep your cameras on. He'll slip up." People like this always do. The HOA election was approaching. Carol was campaigning hard, spreading lies about me and Leo. I knew they'd try something big before voting day. So I set a trap. I called a plumber I trusted. He showed me the main water line, the perfect sabotage point. We attached a pressure alarm that would ping my phone if it was tampered with. I placed a camera on the crawlspace access. I even asked the police if they could keep a patrol nearby just in case. That night, Leo and I sat in the dark living room glued to the live camera feed. Around 1 a.m. Movement. A figure slipped out of Carol's back door, Rick dressed in black, lugging a tool bag. He crept to the crawlspace hatch, pried it open, and disappeared under my house. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. Pressure drop alarm. And then came the roar of water bursting inside the walls. Rick had done it. He'd ruptured my main water line. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. "There's a man under my house destroying my property right now," I said. Because I'd warned them, the dispatcher replied, "We have a car around the corner. Officers en route." Rick crawled out from the hatch, soaked and smug, just as the flashing headlights pinned him against the siding. 2 squad cars screeched to a stop, officers jumped out, and there he was, caught red-handed, wrench in hand, water gushing behind him. No deniability, no excuses. The end of the nightmare. Carol's campaign collapsed overnight. The HOA barred her from running. Rick was arrested for harassment and property damage, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. When I watched Rick in handcuffs under the police spotlight, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved. The woman who screamed my son didn't belong here was exposed for what she really was, and in the end, she's the one who doesn't belong. Some battles you don't choose, but once they come to your door, you fight, and you make damn sure you win with proof, patience, and persistence.